Hi everyone, I'm Chef Susie with Escoffier Online. Welcome to our live session this morning. This morning we're going to be exploring scones, which are great to eat any time of day. They're great for breakfast and for tea time, and even for brunches, or even for snacks, or even evening snacks any time of day. And once you learn techniques to make scones, the flavors are pretty much limitless. You can add fruits, you can add dried fruits, you can add nuts and spices, and there's just so many things. And one of our students contacted me yesterday about maybe adding some of the marzipan or some almond paste into the scones too. So you can really just dice that up and add it in like you would add some fruit, and we'll give you some nice almondy pockets, and then you could even put some slivered almonds on top before you bake the scones. So like I said, the flavors are limited and so limitless, and the sizes and shapes as well. So today we're going to be exploring two types of scones. Scones used with the creaming method, and that's the drop scone. And then we're going to do the biscuit method, and we're going to be rolling out the scones. So knowing all that, let's get started. So I'm going to be making the biscuit method, and I have my dry ingredients in my bowl here, and I have my unsalted butter, and I cut it into some small medium chunks. Don't put any large pieces if you're going to be doing this by hand. And the butter is a little bit cool. Typically we use our butter at room temperature, but for something like this, when we're rubbing in the butter into the dry ingredients, you're going to want it a little cool, and then you won't have so much stickiness. What we're doing in the rub-in method is I have all of the dry ingredients, which I incorporated into the bowl here. I added the butter, and I'm just rubbing the butter in by hand. You can do this on a stand mixer with paddle attachment, or you can do it with hand mixer too. Just be careful to put the setting on low for both machines, and keep an eye on it until it has maybe a kind of a heavy kind of cornmeal texture. You should be able to see some pieces of butter, and you definitely don't want it combined at all. You want it to be crumbly, because what we're doing by rubbing this in is we're coating each piece of butter with flour, and that's what's going to give our scone its tenderness and flakiness, and of course its good flavor too. So with scones, typically you'll use butter, but if you want to cut down on costs, you can use shortening, or you can use a combination of shortening and butter as well. So keep that in mind. And sometimes when you're using shortening in scones, they have a tendency to be softer and stay softer as well, because the butter is going to give it a little bit more of a crispy texture, and we've got the milk solids in there too, which give it a different effect. So just keep that cost-effective idea in mind. And please let me know if you have any questions. And while I'm rubbing this in, I wanted to mention making friends on the student portal. It's a super nice place to meet friends, and food always brings people together. It's easy to make friends on the portal. If you see a forum or a post for someone, and you maybe think you have something in common, you can click on their picture, and then it's going to take you to another page, and you can send them a friend request. And if they accept the request, then you'll be friends. And what's nice about making friends, besides the fact that it is nice, you can have conversations in private as well. And to search for fellow students, you can click on your dashboard, which is the tab that's on the home page. It's over the picture of the girl where it says "Welcome to the Journey." There's a black bar. It's an information bar, and there's tabs all the way across the top. The dashboard tab is there. Go ahead and click on the dashboard tab, and then click on messages, and a box will come up to the right. It's a kind of a rectangular box, and you can search using that box. So you can search all the pastry students, and they're going to all come up with where they live as well. And then you can click on one of the students that you'd like to make friends with, and you can send them a friend request and wait for their reply. So please make some friends today, and You'll it's just a really great place to meet friends from like all over the world, not only where you're living close by your home, but we have students in 45 different countries. So it's a great place to meet people with different backgrounds, with different cultures as well. You'll be surprised what you have in common besides just food. Okay, so now our mixture is looking terrific. So I've rubbed this butter in. And it's kind of nice doing these small batches by hand. You really don't have to use a mixer, but like I said, if you put it in the mixer, don't walk away. Keep an eye on it. So we want it to be kind of looking a little like cornmeal-y, kind of even looks a little bit like our almond flour. And we don't want any big pieces of butter. Just checking through to make sure that there aren't any. And next what I'm going to be doing is I have my liquid mixture, which is my egg and my milk, and I'm going to be adding it to this, and I'm just going to mix it up the best that I can by hand. And then I'm going to pour it out onto my work surface. I've got some flour, and then I'm just going to be kneading it by hand. So if you're going to be adding something to this like chocolate chips or raisins, you're going to want to add them now while the mixture is crumbly, because once it turns into a dough and you start adding things like this, you're just going to be working the dough too much, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep it nice and delicate. But any dry spices that you're using that can go in with your dry ingredients, and any liquid extracts that you're using that can go in with your milk and egg mixture, which I'm going to be adding now. Just pouring this in. I'm just going to be mixing the whole thing by hand. If it gets a little sticky, got a little extra flour on hand. And then I'm just going to be pouring this onto my work surface. And then I'm going to be kneading this by hand. Okay, it's just about mixed in. I'm going to be dusting my area with a little flour. It's a little sticky, so it looks like it needs a little extra flour. And the way I'm going to be kneading this is I'm just going to be taking the end and bringing it in, and then just rotating the dough carefully until it's kind of workable. Some of these scone mixtures can be just a little stickier than others, and you just may have to knead in a little bit extra flour. That's okay. Get rid of some of that stickiness so we can manage it a little bit better. So I'm taking my end and I'm bringing it to the center. I'm taking my end and I'm bringing it to the center just until things are incorporated and being kind of gentle. You don't want to work this too much. You just want it to be kind of where we can handle it well. I'm just going to give it just a little extra flour. And then we're going to go ahead and form our scones. So this is the biscuit method. And these scones are going to be rolled out. And the dough is actually so soft, you can just really press it out. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to take half of my dough, and we're just going to make the classic triangle scone. You can roll these round as well, or you can even cut them into rectangles, but I'm going to be doing the triangle. And like I said, I'm just going to be pressing the dough out until it's about 1/4 inch thick. So when you have these small pieces, it's nice because it's like I said, you can just press it out. And take my gloves off. And then you can cut this with a dough cutter, or I like to use the bench scraper. Just cut some triangles. Then I'm just going to put these on a baking sheet. We're going to be baking this at a high temperature, about 400 degrees, for about 15 to 20 minutes. It really depends on the size of the scone. They're just going to be a little bit golden brown, so just watch for that color, and they'll appear to be set. And you'll be egg washing the scones before you bake them, and you can also brush them with some melted butter and sprinkle some granulated sugar on them too. Okay, so for my next scone, we're going to be kind of making a little bit of a jelly roll scone. This is one of my personal favorites, and I'm just going to press out my dough a little bit thinner because I'm actually going to be rolling. I'm going to be actually spreading this with some raspberry jam or strawberry. You can use apricot, whatever you like. Then I'm going to be rolling it up. Okay, you could do this with a rolling pin as well. I'm just going to make sure that I don't have a lot of flour on my other side. Got a little bit of extra flour there. I'm just going to be dusting it off. It's nice to keep a dry pastry brush handy. Okay, so I've got some raspberry jam, and I'm just going to be spreading this on here, and then we're going to roll it up, and it's super nice effect. You don't want to make this too thick because then it's going to be squeezing out a little bit. I just kind of go over this. Then we're going to be rolling this up and cutting it. And you could make this kind of roulade scone with or without raisins. You can do this with chocolate chips. You could even add some orange zest, whatever you like, whatever flavors you like. Okay, so we have a nice log roll, and I'm just going to cut these pieces. So they're about 3/4 of an inch. Like I said, with these scones, your shapes and sizes are limitless. This is super nice little scone. So we have a nice little roulade shape, and I usually flatten these just a bit before I put them on my tray. This scone in particular is delicious with a little bit of butter on top and a little bit of granulated sugar before it goes in the oven. And please, if you try the scones, let me know how you like them and maybe what flavors you're making too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and clean off our board, and then we're going to finish these scones. So what's nice about these bench scrapers is you can scrape your work surface clean. You'd never be able to do this with a towel. And then you can kind of go over it with the towel. So it's super handy to have. Okay, now that we have our work area cleaned, we have our scones on the tray with the Silpat. You can even grease this cookie sheet, or you can spray it, or you can use some parchment paper as well. So then these scones, they get egg washed, and then they're going to be going in the oven. 400 degrees, a high temperature. It's going to bake the outside a little bit faster, which is going to keep that nice moistness on the inside. And remember, you can brush them with butter. And there's also an English method too, where the scones are made not with milk, but with heavy cream. It makes them a lot richer and moister. And those scones will be brushed with heavy cream before you put them in the oven. And two, you can sprinkle those with a little bit of granulated sugar for some extra sweetness and a little bit of crunch. So these go right in the oven. It's what's nice about these quick bread dessert or breakfast items. There's no proofing. Put them right in the oven because this is leavened with baking powder. Okay, so let's look at some scones that I made earlier. So we have the nice roulade scone that I made earlier with a little bit of raspberry jam, and they brown up really nice. It's a real nice complement to maybe a tray of breakfast spreads with scones to add a little bit of variety. So they're nice and flaky on the inside. Let's break one open. They're thoroughly baked. They're nice soft crumb, very flaky. And we also have the raisin scone in the triangle shape, and you're going to want it to be a little bit golden brown like this, not too brown. And this too has a very small crumb on the inside. It's nice and flaky and it's very well done. So try your scones. Let me know what kinds you make and what flavor combinations. And I also have a sample of the drop scone. Okay, this is a scone that you would use when you're making scones using the creaming method, which would be creaming the butter and the sugar and any flavors that you may have. And then you're going to be adding your dry ingredients, your flour and your leavener, with your wet ingredients, your milk and your eggs mixed together. You're going to alternate those so they combine a little bit easier, and you're usually going to use about 1/3 at a time. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to drop these scones onto your baking sheet that you have lined, and you can use a scoop or a spoon, and then you'll bake them just like this, and they'll just spread out a little bit. So these are our 2 scones for today, and please let me know if you have any questions, and also let me know how you're doing with your scones and some flavors, shapes, and sizes that you're making. And please make some friends today on the student portal. It'll be lots of fun. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.